delighted to welcome today Hannah Jago, who is in Oxfordshire and managing with Tilly, the new puppy. So we may be joined, we may not be, we'll see how we go. So Hannah, lovely to have you on the podcast.
Thank you so much.
We're going to talk about how people can be out of pain with some certain products a bit later on. And to start off with, I'd like to go into how you got interested in health and well-being. So to rewind a few years, what was your first introduction to health and well-being?
Yeah, well, for me, my journey really started about 12 years ago. I was getting divorced. I was in a very unhappy marriage, and I realized about 6 months later that I had quite a drinking problem. And so in the summer of 2011, I suddenly hit rock bottom and realized that I needed to clean up my act and get myself sober. And I'm very fortunate in that my youngest sister had an ex-boyfriend who was part of AA, and he took me to my first meeting on the 7th of July 2011. And touch wood, I've not had a drink since that day. And going through AA kind of gave me a starting point, a foundation of just don't do the drinking. But I had to work a lot on my mental health, obviously, and you're digging into your past, and emotions are the biggest thing that, people say that's why they have an addiction, to kind of get rid of the emotions. And of course, when you take that out of the equation, you're left with your emotions. So I had to do a lot of work on my mental health. And I think that very much goes hand in hand with physical health. When your mental health is challenged, you turn to the bad things for your physical health, the wrong foods, the wrong substances. So once I'd taken that out and started to work on the mind, it really got me thinking about everything that I put in and on my body. And that's really where my health journey started, because I was looking at chemicals that I was putting on my skin, things like sodium lauryl sulfate, propylene glycol. These are in most products in people's houses. So I started searching out products that didn't contain those products. I wanted to put good things on my skin. I started making my own sun cream. I'm on the verge of making my own toothpaste. It's these sorts of things that really got me thinking, well, what am I putting in my body? If I've taken out alcohol and I know that I can be a better version of myself, what am I doing? Putting in my body. It got me looking at every toxin that I have in my house. So I started removing toxic chemicals, bleach, cleaning products. And now I have a puppy, I'm even more concerned about what's on the floor, what's being sprayed. I mean, my daughter comes occasionally and, she's got the perfume out, like, go and spray that outside. I don't want it in the house, And like,
Hannah, just hold on a second. I've got a stray cat that's come in. I've closed the door, but she wants to be on the other side now. Just 2 seconds.
No worries. It's all about the cats and the dogs.
Yeah, cats and dogs today. Hold on. Okay, so I've got my cat's now stayed in. The stray cat's gone out, and goodness knows. Okay, so your daughter was coming spraying perfume, and you realised how toxic that is.
Yeah, really toxic. And so I started looking at companies that sell things like essential oils that I could put in my water, to use as cleaning products around the house. I started investing in companies that have really amazing microfiber cloths and mops that contain silver that could, kill bacteria on the work surfaces. So for me, it was every buying decision since that time has been based on, is this going to help me? Is it going to help the planet? Am I helping my environment? And I know a lot of people sort of think, well, it's just me, what difference do I make? But every one person that decides to make a conscious decision about what they're buying and what they're putting in and around their house makes a difference, because those chemicals are not then going into your body, they're not going into the atmosphere. And of course, when we have all that toxicity going in our body, it's just setting us up for illness in the future. And, you know, this is why people get sick, because of the levels of toxicity. And we know that, you know, newborn babies are born with something like 220 plus toxins in their umbilical cord, you know, purely because of the food we eat, the toxins on our food, the toxins that we breathe in the air, and that we put on our skin. So it's really quite a passion of mine to make sure that everything I'm doing in my house, as much as possible. And I have to add the caveat here, I do still bleach and dye my hair, although a bit like you, Elaine, the colour's nearly gone. I cut it this morning and it's nearly gone. And I will be thinking very seriously then about, you know, do I still go down that route, you know, just for the case of fashion? And the more I don't do it, the more I go, yeah, okay, I'm not putting chemicals down the sink. So it's all of these little decisions, and of course they don't all happen overnight. And I think that's the thing for some people when they're thinking about making a change in their health. They think, oh my gosh, it's going to cost a lot of money, I don't have that, how can I do it, you know? And there are all these blocks and these sort of logistics. And I always say to people, just take it one step at a time. Just maybe take things out of your bathroom first, or out of your kitchen first, and just do things incrementally. But for me, you know, that 11 years has got me to the stage now where I use essential oils every day. You know, I use some amazing socks that help me be pain-free. I use a wand that charges my water, and I drink alkaline water and eat vegetarian as much as I can. So all of these things have taken time. They didn't just happen, you know, on day one where somebody said, right, here's £1,000, go do it, you know. And I think that's the barrier for a lot of people.
It's finding alternatives, isn't it? It's not just having the mindset, but it's also the time to do things. And it's easy to get overwhelmed. With the people that I support reversing cancer, as I did with my own stage 4 cancer 7 years ago, I have this theory that we have to throw everything at it, because we don't know how much time is left, because the medics don't, you know, they don't know, nobody knows, but we have to throw everything at it. So I'm one for actually just diving in, doing the whole lot. But unfortunately, not everybody can cope with that. So as you say, little by little, and start with maybe one room at a time. You said that you were about to make your own toothpaste. How are you going to do that?
Yeah, so it's bicarbonate of soda, some coconut oil, peppermint oil, and you just blend that all up together, put it in a little glass pot. Always put things in glass jars if you can, you know, because if you're putting it in plastic, you don't know if it's BPA free. So what I tend to do is keep those little jars that you get in restaurants, you know, when you go for breakfast.
The jam jars.
The jam jars, you know, I tend to keep those and reuse them. Or if I'm going somewhere and there's a little jar like that, you know, because it's like when I take my sun cream, if I go abroad, I don't want to take something that's more than 100 ml and get that confiscated. So I just put that in little jars, and I never need to use the whole jar, you know, for a week, because you just need to use less. But it's trying to do things naturally like that again, it's just having a look on the internet, look up how to make something naturally. And there's plenty of resources out there for people. And these things don't have to cost a lot of money. And I know for me, I wanted to go fluoride free, because, you know, there are documents out there that prove that fluoride causes, you know, neuro changes in mice. And my dentist doesn't like that very much, but I know that I'm doing what's right for me. And that's the thing with health, is we can't tell people what to do. But people will ask us and say, well, what are you doing? And I can say, well, this is what works for me. You could try it. But we know that this is what I would say, everybody has a different body, and your level of toxicity and illness and inflammation, injury, trauma, grief, you know, abuse, you know, mental health and well-being are so very different. So what will work amazingly for one person may take twice as long for somebody else. But, you know, when you're trying different things, I think what you have to do is be very gentle with your body and allow it time to change, you know, because we know the body's very clever at doing its natural repairing. I know we have to be very careful when we say things like healing and what we can do. But I think in this world that we live in at the moment, we want things very quickly, and people have to learn patience. to take their time with things. And I know for my body, it's very super sensitive. So anytime I introduce a new modality or a new supplement, I almost have to halve the dose or the product so that I allow my body time to adjust, because I'm very sensitive to things like that. And of course, that's what puts people off making a change sometimes, is the knowledge that there's going to be detoxing. You know, I just introduced a Rife machine into my life this last week. And of course, it gave me some very serious detoxing for 3 days. And that set me back, you know, physically. It was like, I need to rest on the sofa. But I know that that's going to give my body a really good immune boost and kickstart some, you know, natural repairing, which is what my body needs. So it is about patience, I think, when you're introducing new health things.
And I think also, you mentioned a few times, it's about knowing your body, because you know what your body will tolerate and what it won't do.
Yes.
And even though you are living and eating clean and all the rest of it, it's interesting, you still had a 3-day reaction when you introduced the Rife machine. I use a variety of different gadgets and gizmos for myself on a preventative basis as well, and it's so important. And regarding the toothpaste, I've been making my own for years, and I introduced salt as well, sea salt. So I mixed my bicarb and sea salt in the little jam jar. I mix, I then have a small pot of coconut oil. So I dab my brush into the coconut oil, then dab it into the other two, and the job's a good one, and that's it. So it's got antibacterial. I don't have any essential oil mint at the moment, but that's on my shopping list.
Yeah, it's something I couldn't do without. If there was one thing I have to take with me everywhere, is my oils. You know, I've got frankincense, lavender, peppermint. I mean, frankincense for pain on the back of the neck is wonderful, or on the roof of the mouth, you know, quick dab of that. If you've got a headache, that will just kick it to the curb. If you've got any kind of breathing, sinus, migraine, peppermint on the palm of the hands, you know, rub that together and breathe that in. Don't get it anywhere near the eyes because it will sting. But, you know, just breathing that in gently. I tend to make like a little coil on my hand and breathe it through my mouth. And that will really help if you're having an asthma attack or got any kind of breathing problems. I mean, we're seeing a lot of people with seasonal colds right now and flu. And those two things, the frankincense and the peppermint, are my go-tos, you know, and lavender to sleep. My sister had a little bite on her neck the other day, and I said, right, let's get the frankincense and lavender on it, you know, and it was fine. It calmed down within minutes, you know, whereas she was scratching at it. So the essential oils for me are absolutely essential. You know, I couldn't do without those. And when I travel, they're the things I take with me everywhere.
Yeah, you know, brilliantly. Frankincense, I took that orally when I had my stage 4 cancer, and then I continued for about 18 months afterwards, just taking a drop under my tongue every day. But then there's some people listening to that would be going, oh no, you shouldn't take oils internally, and whatever you do, there's always going to be somebody that complains about something. But you have to do what's right for you, and that's it, isn't it, at the end of the day?
Well, I think with essential oils, the problem is there aren't any studies and sort of patents for things like that, because it's a natural product.
So
of course the scientific world doesn't like that, and won't therefore stand by it and say, yes, you can take it internally. But I've had that internally, and I know the power of it. You know, I've heard stories of, you know, a 16-year-old girl with a brain tumor, and she put that on the back of her neck every day, and within months it was gone.
Wow.
You know, so it's incredible, that power. And if you think of I mean, I don't have necessarily a religious belief, but, you know, more of a spiritual belief. But when, you know, they talk in the Bible of Jesus being given gold, frankincense and myrrh, you know, gold wasn't physical gold. It was turmeric he was given. You know, then the myrrh and the frankincense, here we go. You know, the gold and the frankincense and the myrrh and you know, all of those three herbs and spices are some of the most powerful oils and spices that you can use for the body. And, you know, the kings clearly knew what they were doing, giving it to him. You know, and as I say, it's, I don't know what anybody's religious beliefs are, but those things that are natural are also what our body knows how to process from a DNA point of view. And of course, when we're wanting to put pills and potions in our body, the body stresses the liver, it doesn't know how to function, and then that causes all the other problems, you know, along with antibiotics. And I always know there is a place for medicine for sure. You know, if we're suffering trauma or injury, then the scientific world is great. It's there to repair us. But we really do, as a nation, have to start taking care of ourselves, and know that what we do today is having an influence on our body in the future. And, you know, one of the talks I do is, are you an asset or a liability? And we talk about all the things we've talked about now is, what are you watching? What are you reading? What are you listening to? What are you putting in and on your body? What are you putting around you? Even things like the Wi-Fi, you know, I've got blockers on my phone, blockers on my laptop, my router, just to, and crystals everywhere, you know, shungite and things like that, to really do as much as we can, because I don't think any of us really know how much we can do to protect ourselves. But it's all about choice, isn't it?
Again. Yeah, absolutely. And I'm afraid I'm going to have to pause again, because Bobby wants to go out, so he's been scouting around here. Just hold on a sec. This has never happened before. This is ridiculous. Hold on. Do apologise. And I put him out there, and then there's another stray out there.
Oh no.
So they're all lovely in their own way, but I don't want a whole house full of cats, you know.
Are you turning into the crazy cat lady?
Well, I had lunch with a friend the other day, and I said to her, how many cats have you got now? She said, last time I saw her, it was 23. She's up to 27 now.
Oh my god.
She said, I won't go over 30 though. Oh, okay, that's all right then.
You might not have a choice very soon.
Yeah, unbelievable.
Oh,
but there we go. So
but
yeah,
actually, here we are talking about pets. You know, I mean, they're great therapy, you know, for your mental well-being. And obviously, you know, but you know, I lost my husband in February, and you know, this is a really difficult time, and a change of time for me, and mentally wise. You know, I mean, I love my life. I love what I do, and all the different things I have on the go. But, you know, having a pet is just such an amazing mental health benefit, I would say, you know. So that addition into my life was a very conscious decision, because it means I'm getting out more. You know, there are days when I don't leave my house because of the way I work online, but she's getting me out. And, you know, I think that's one thing that we have to be very careful of when we're going through big changes is, you know, are we seeing people? Are we getting out? You know, we can very often internalize and go inwards and not want to see people, but actually connecting with people is just as good, you know, for our mental health, as going for a walk with the dog.
Absolutely. The friends and laughter, I think, are the two cheapest. You know, it doesn't cost a bean, but they're the best medicine, beneficial. Right? Yeah, medicine.
Well, and they say laughter is the best medicine.
Absolutely, and you can't laugh on your own, really. Well, I mean, you can, I suppose, but I mean,
but I think a lot of people get stuck in that sort of mental health loop because they're in pain. You know, when we're experiencing pain in our life, whether it's physical pain or emotional pain, I think that can very often be the thing that stops people moving forward, is pain and getting stuck in that rut. Do you find that?
I hear it a lot. Yes, I do hear it and I see it. Yeah, absolutely. But that's not going to affect us by any means. I mean, I could do the same thing. I mean, I live on my own here in the Algarve in Portugal, and I spend a lot of time online. And I sometimes could not see people morning, noon, and night for days on end unless I chose to go out. And I have toyed with the idea of having a dog, but there's too many dogs here already in the village or hamlet where I live. So I'm not going to do that. And also it's a tie, and I like to be impulsive and you know, go away and so on. So there we go. So pain, nice segue now into pain. So you mentioned socks that keep you out of pain. I have insoles that I'm standing on now, my insoles.
That do the same. So yeah, the reason for me why I started looking at natural pain relief is because I was run over 20 years ago and by a thief in his car while I was working at a supermarket. And I broke my foot so severely that the doctors said I'd probably never walk again. And then when they did some surgery, they said, you know, if we get you walking, and it was a very big if, they said you'll need a permanent stick and probably have a permanent limp, you know, forever. And I had a 4-month-old and a 20-month-old at the time. So as you can imagine, that's life-changing for me. You know, I just turned 30, you know, I've got 2 kids, life's great, I'm married, you know, and here I am being told I can't work, I can't walk, you know, it was horrendous. I'm incredibly stubborn. And when somebody says you can't do something, I tend to do the opposite.
Mm.
But actually, it's being incredibly positive about recovery is actually what got me walking again. And even the surgeon said that to me, because I had pins put in to put my foot back together. So I broke all the metatarsals, and I dislocated my ankle as well. It was sort of crushed with the back wheel and the pavement. It was really horrible. So I had pins to put in, and then they took the pins out 10 weeks later. And then they said, you know, now you need to do physio for about 6 months and we'll see how we go. And it was all very loose, you know, that we don't really know what's going to happen. And after 2 months, I'd actually signed myself out to physio because I could walk again. And the surgeon came to see me and said, look, you know, why are you leaving? You're supposed to be doing physio. I mean, the physio was really worried that I was doing that. And I said, well, look, I'll show you what I can do. And I went around all the apparatus and could walk and hop and skip and stand on the wobble board and everything. And he said, it is purely your positivity that has got you walking again. The power of the mind is incredible. But for me, I've always been in that victor mode rather than being in victim. You know,
yeah, that is so
going to happen to us.
Mm.
But it's how you deal with it is the thing. So got walking again, and you know, I didn't wear high heels for a very long time because of that pressure on the toes, and you know, it was very difficult. So I sold all my shoes and got some flats. But over the years, what I've found, and some of your listeners may experience this, is when you have an injury, you very often then have a residual injury somewhere else. So for mine, it was in my foot. And of course, when you've broken something, your muscles and your bones have done what they're doing, but your fascia muscle that is on the outside of that muscle then is stretched. And of course, somewhere else in your body is taking up the tension while that fascia muscle is being loosened and traumatized. So what I started to find is that my right hip and shoulder were starting to get, you know, problems up in my shoulders more than anything, and also in my jaw. So, you know, we're a bit like a zigzag. You know, if there's a left injury, right knee, left hip, right shoulder. So I was finding problems in all of those areas. And I started to go and have Bowen therapy, because I find it's very gentle for the body, realigning those fascia muscles. And I highly recommend Bowen. I just find it such a gentle modality rather than sort of, you know, other things. And then I was introduced to a company called Vox Life with these, as we call them, magic socks, and in 2019. And it's fair to say that they changed my life overnight, because I was suffering a lot of backache at that point, very lower back, because I'm very short. And so waking up in the morning, I had to do lots of stretching. Before I could even get out of bed, I would have to flex my foot and twist it and bend it and get the muscles working. And again, a lot of your listeners will resonate with this, that if they've got pain, that getting out of bed in the first morning is the hardest bit. Once you've got moving, it's kind of okay. But if you can't even get out of bed easily, you know, there's the implication of going to the toilet and, you know, getting moving. So when I put these socks on, I'm actually going to show you, I've got a pair here, very nice, sort of pink stripy. And on the back of them is this red pattern here. And that pattern, all it's doing, it's just stitching. So there's no drugs, no chemicals, no magnets in it. It's just a stitch pattern. As soon as that's making contact with the skin, it's activating the sensory nervous system in the skin, in the sort of sympathetic system. And what that's doing is it's going up to the brain neurons, and it's creating what we call homeostasis, which is perfect balance. And as soon as the body's in perfect balance, it knows where to put pain relief. And what it's actually doing is it's rerouting your brain neurons to find a pathway to the solution. Because if you've got pain, it means that your normal pain relief can't get to where it's going, because that body does that. But because you've got inflammation in a knee or your fingers, you've got arthritis or something, your pain receptors are not getting there because of inflammation. But as soon as this product touches the body, it's happening instantly. And this has been scientifically proven in studies and all sorts. So what's happening is that neuron is kind of going, let's say it's to your knee, it's going to the knee and it's going, oh, there's inflammation here, we need to reroute. So it's going to find another way to get into that pain problem. And of course, the more you wear the products, those neurons are going to keep going in that same path. And they have discovered that about 8 months is the magic sweet spot, where if you're wearing those products 24/7, I mean, I don't take my socks off unless I'm having a shower. I wear them at night as well, which is interesting in the summer. And there are other products that you can wear, patches, you know, etc. But they find that 8 months is about the time when your body has done enough rerouting that if you didn't wear the products, it will continue in that pathway. And they are seeing incredible results with cancer, with brain tumors, and helping people to be pain-free. And of course, if you're pain-free, you can move more. And if you can move more, your digestion works, your circulation works, your respiratory system works better. And you know, when people are sick, they stop doing all of those things. They stop moving, so they're not getting as much oxygen. If they're not getting as much oxygen, then there's more toxicity, you know, and the digestion breaks down, and it's a full circle. So, you know, when I've seen people who've got something like fibromyalgia put a pair of these socks on and then get up and walk and, you know, go for a walk and a mile walk, and then, you know, 4 months later, they're running marathons where they couldn't even get out of bed before. It's really quite extraordinary stuff. And, you know, these are scientifically proven, safe and legal for sports professionals. And that, for me, when I saw that as part of the company, credibility, that gave me the assurance to know that these are real, they work. But for me, I put them on, went to bed and got up with no pain. So having my own story was incredibly powerful. And, you know, my husband had a similar story. He had a knee injury, was potentially needing an operation and for meniscus damage. And they said, you need to strengthen your knee. Well, that involves walking and running and exercising. And if you're in pain, you just stop doing that because it hurts. But he was able to put these products on, the socks, and off he went. And 2 months later, he started running. And then he was starting to lose weight, starting to get fitter. And he had very high blood pressure at the time. And that was starting to come down too, naturally, without needing medication. So, you know, to share that with people is, for me, it's just such a blessing to see people walk into wellness one step at a time, and to be able to feel in focus and kind of get their life together and have a better quality of life is just it warms my heart.
It's brilliant as well. You were saying about focus, because it helps clear the brain fog, doesn't it? Because your yes. pathways are clearer, therefore your thinking is going to be clear, and so on. My situation with them is why I wear the insoles every day. I'm okay at bed at night because I've been using them for so long. I don't wear socks at night. In fact, I can't find them. I've got them here somewhere, but I don't know where they are. So I wear the insoles during the day, and I can't wear the patches because it's too hot here in the Algarve in Portugal. So they just slide off. It's pointless. So so I've got 3 pairs of insoles, so they're in, you know, whatever I'm wearing.
Whatever you're wearing.
But when I was in the UK, I've got a twisted and curved spine. So when I was in the UK, I would see a chiropractor every 2 weeks, roughly.
Wow.
Since I've been here in Portugal for 2.5 years, I've seen a chiropractor once, and that was because somebody ran in the back of me. So that was just a realignment. So I've been wearing these all the time. So exactly what you say, and I'm never in pain. My back is never in pain. I don't have a problem with it at all.
That's incredible.
I have another machine as well that I use to keep me on track. So it's not just that, but it's huge.
It is a combination, isn't it? I find it's, you know, I have the socks, I have a few other things, the oils. I think it is a case of you know, not one thing does everything. And it's a case of having a few different things. I kind of think of it like my toolkit, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, if you've got a spanner, you do need a screwdriver for something, you know. So it's having a few different things that work. And I mean, I wear one of the sleeves as well, that look like this.
Yes, I just washed mine yesterday. So
I got it on today, and I mean, that's helped me with the brain fog. I mean, going right through the menopause. Before I wore that sleeve, I mean, I couldn't concentrate at all. And we were then really going into lockdown. And of course, we were all on lots of Zooms. And suddenly my brain was getting very anxious and overwhelmed, and the Wi-Fi, and and then I started wearing the sleeve, and it's like everything just calmed down. But I've actually helped a lot of children on the spectrum with the sleeve, because how the pattern in that is working on the arm is helping the frontal lobes, so where the reading, the writing, focus, function, creativity, communication, eye contact, where you're doing all your thinking and your doing. And this is why, of course, they say you need to wear a cycle helmet, because if you fall off your bike and hit your head, that's where all of the major functions of your brain is in this frontal lobe. And when you can see a child that can't write properly because they've got dyslexia, and you get them to write a sentence, I usually get them to write the quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog, because it's got all the letters of the alphabet. And then we put the sleeve on, and then we get them to do it in half an hour and write the same sentence. And the difference every single time is like chalk and cheese. The spelling's correct, the writing's joined up. And it just, when I see the look of wonder on the parents' faces when they can see their child, getting it together, and then when they go to school and the teachers say, wow, what's happened to this child? They're like, they're totally different. What are you doing with them? And they're like, well, they're just wearing this sleeve and a pair of socks. They're having less meltdowns. They've got better eye contact, better recall, better call to demand. If you say, right, John, it's time to come and sit down for dinner, and that child just comes and sits down, the implication for the whole family is that everybody has a better quality of life. And it's not taking away the autism or the ADHD or Asperger's from that child. It's just helping them function with some normality, and some level of better quality of life. And that just, again, when I see the testimonials from families, when they say, thank you for bringing this into our lives, it warms my heart. It really does. And I know Jay, who created these products with Vox Life, he always says to us, it's about the mission before the commission. Our mission is to help people have a better quality of life. And, the more people we help, the more it will help us. But, when I see people getting up out of a wheelchair where they couldn't walk, or they've got a stroke and they're so badly twisted that they put on a pair of socks and then they walk up and down the stairs, or they're rattling from Parkinson's so badly that they can't even carry a cup of tea, that they put on a pair of these socks and they bring you a cup of tea and them at the same time. I mean, it never ceases to amaze me. And I think that's peace of mind for the families of those people as well, that they don't need to be checking up on them all the time, and that they can get back out into their community and walk their dogs and live normally, where they couldn't before because the doctors didn't know what to do for them, or just giving them pills.
It's heartwarming, isn't it? It's absolutely
really
heartwarming.
Yeah, I feel blessed to know about these modalities, and this is why I love sharing them on talks like we're doing now. It's so important that people get to know about these products, because this technology is over 50 years old. It's suppressed technology. There were studies done in the 40s and 50s that showed that when reflexology points were stimulated, they created brain neurological change. Those studies were then hidden and squashed. So this is not new technology, but it's great that these sorts of things are coming out now, because our time is now to help people find natural solutions for their health. And I feel blessed that I have those at my fingertips in my toolkit.
Brilliant. Well, you're certainly, the audio listeners won't see you, but for those who are looking on YouTube can see your absolutely perfect picture of health. So well done you, despite the fact that you referred earlier on, you lost your husband in February. And again, the positive, shit happens in life, doesn't it, to all of us? All kinds of stuff happens. And it's how we deal with it. Similar to me with my stage 4 cancer, and I was given less than a year to live. Nobody told me I'm dying. I'll sort myself out, thank you very much. And within 3 months, boom, boom, and they couldn't believe it. So mindset is huge, people listening, absolutely huge. So there's tools out there to help us, but actually it needs to come from you as well, because if you're just pussyfooting around and not engaging, then you're not going to recover. And I see that so often with people that I support. They can be eating the right foods, doing the right things, but if they don't have a will to live, if they don't have a big enough why, why they need to get their self together, it's not going to happen, and they go downhill. It's very sad, but at the end of the day, we can help people, we can guide people, we can educate, but it's up to the individual, isn't it?
Absolutely. And I think, when I came into AA all those years ago, that was very much the message. It was, I suggest you have a look at steps. I suggest you read the big book. We're just making suggestions. At the end of the day, I had to not go to the shop and buy alcohol. I had to make a decision for me. It's having the support is the great bit. And this is what we're always doing with health and wellness, is paying it forward, passing that message on. But ultimately, people do have to take control of their own life and their own stuff. But walk alongside somebody and have that support. But it takes guts to ask for help. It takes courage. It really does. And a lot of people see that as a weakness, and it's really not. It's a strength to be able to say, right, I can do this, but I need help, and why do it on your own? I mean, that's boring. It's great to be able to share a testimonial or a great story with somebody, because that also inspires them to go, do you know what? If you can do it, I can. And I know that my grief journey is the way it is because I've seen a couple of women kind of do what I'm doing, pick themselves up and carry on. And you know what? Chris always said to me, if I'm not around one day, you'll be very sad, but you'll just get on with it. And I think that's what we have to do. You just have to get on with it,
Yeah, absolutely. On that note, Hannah, how do people get hold of you? Just to let people know.
Reach me on Facebook. So I'm Hannah of the Family Jago on Facebook, and I'm on Instagram as Sago Jago. So it's my name with the bit Sago in the front. Or I'm on LinkedIn, and that's usually the easiest way to get hold of me, is social media. And I love meeting people. I love being able to hear why somebody's got a health issue and how we can help them, because I don't just sell socks. I want to know that 360 approach. What's the trauma in your life? What's your injury? What's your history? Because it all plays a part to how you are today. So it's very important to me that I get to know and connect with people.
Marvelous.
So,
so Hannah of the Family Jago, which is another conversation another time, because I know we're both very busy today. So lovely speaking with you, and I hope listeners, I'm sure listeners will take away quite a bit from what you've said, and the way you apply it in your own life with the positivity. So well done, and we will speak soon.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much.